What if the first person who makes your heart beat is the one who could ruin your life? Lee Young-jun stared at the mirror as crimson water curled down the drain. The blood wasn't his. It never was. His knuckles were split, his breathing steady, his eyes cold. He dried his hands with slow care, slid on his Rolex, and fixed his black tie. In one breath, the hunter became a prince. The face in the mirror showed nothing. That was the point. Kang Minute-suk, he said without looking away. Is it done? Yes, boss, came the answer from behind the door. Calm. Loyal. Efficient. Young-jun exhaled, shut the bathroom light, and stepped into the silent private hallway of a Gangnam club. Music thumped below like a restless heart. He walked past velvet ropes, past bowing staff, past fear that wore a smile. Outside, a sleek car waited. Minute-suk opened the door. Your mother wants you at dinner, sir. Another meeting. Another. Nice girl. Young-jun's jaw ticked. Drive. 30 minutes later, he sat across from a beautiful woman in Seoul's most exclusive restaurant. Her dress sparkled. Her voice practiced charm. My father's company can partner with Lee Group, she said. Your mother believes you're ready to take over. He took a slow sip of wine. Metallic memory touched his tongue. My mother believes many things. She also said you're finally ready to settle down, the woman added, letting her hand drift toward his. Someone who understands your world. He pulled his hand back gently. No one understands my world. The date ended with polite words and empty smiles. Outside, Minute-suk waited under a cold streetlight. How was she, boss? She liked my last name. Everyone likes your last name. Exactly. He paused. I need air. They drove aimlessly until the city cooled his thoughts. Neon washed the streets. The Han River slid like dark silk. On a whim, Young-jun told Minute-suk to stop near a rooftop bar in Gangnam. 5 minutes, he said. He stepped into warm light and low music. The bar's glass walls framed the sky. Laughter rang from a corner. He moved to the counter and sat. The bartender nodded, but someone else approached, a girl with bright eyes and a simple black apron. Good evening, she said, voice soft and clear. What can I get you? Her accent held a gentle rhythm. Her smile was real. It hit him harder than the fight he had just won. Water, he answered, surprised at himself. Just water? Her lips curved. That's brave for this place. He blinked. Why? Our cocktails are famous, she teased. But sure. 1 water for the brave man in the suit. She left with a small laugh. He watched her move, quick, precise, kind. She helped an elderly couple with their seats. She wiped a spill without fuss. She thanked a kitchen staff for extra ice. Nothing about her was staged. Minute-suk's voice buzzed through the earpiece. Boss, do you need me inside? No, he murmured. Give me 10. The girl returned with a glass. I'm Olivia, she said. If you need anything else, I'm around. Lee, he replied. He almost said more. He didn't. Lee like your name, or Lee like everyone in Korea? She grinned. He felt something shift. Light. Strange. New. Both. Nice to meet you, Mr. Both. She set down a bowl of peanuts. On the house. You look like you think too much. Is that obvious? Only to people who do it too, she said, tapping her temple. He almost smiled. Almost. A shout cracked the air from the stairwell, rough, angry voices rising. Minute-suk's warning hissed in his ear. Boss, we have company. Olivia glanced toward the noise, then back at him. Is everything okay? Young-jun stood slowly, eyes sharpening. Stay behind the counter, he said, voice low. Her smile faded. Who are you, Mr. Lee? He met her gaze. For once, he told a piece of the truth. Someone you should never have to fear. The stairwell door burst open. Footsteps pounded. Young-jun took a step forward, toward danger, and toward the girl who had just made his heart remember its own sound. The rooftop bar was silent again, but Lee Young-jun's mind wasn't. The men who had stormed in were gone, dragged out by his bodyguards before Olivia could see what almost happened. To everyone else, it looked like a small drunken fight. To him, it was a warning from the underworld, No place was safe, not even one lit with laughter and soft music. Yet all he could think about was her. He leaned against the car outside, loosening his tie. Minute-suk stood nearby, waiting for instructions. Who was the girl? Young-jun asked. The waitress. Minute-suk frowned. You noticed her? Find out her name. Where she lives. Everything. Minute-suk hesitated. Boss, you're not serious, are you? Young-jun's tone hardened. When have I ever said something I didn't mean? The next evening, he went back. Same seat. Same glass of water. Same heartbeat that betrayed him. Olivia looked surprised when she saw him again, but her smile came easily. You again, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Don't tell me you came for the water. He smiled faintly. Maybe for the bartender. I'm the waitress, she corrected, laughing. But I'll take the compliment. She moved with a confidence that wasn't loud, but graceful. The kind that came from kindness, not power. He found himself watching her too long, listening too closely, memorizing her voice without meaning to. When the bar closed, he offered to walk her out. You don't have to, she said, tying her apron. I've been walking home alone since I came to Seoul. He raised an eyebrow. Alone? At this hour? I'm tougher than I look. He chuckled. I don't doubt it. They walked under the neon lights, a strange pair, a Nigerian girl with dreams in her eyes and a Korean mafia boss hiding behind silence. So, Mr. Lee, she said lightly, what do you do? You dress like a CEO, but you talk like someone who doesn't want to be one. He looked straight ahead. Let's just say, I fix problems. Must be nice, she teased. People like you always have answers. If only that were true. The silence that followed was soft, not awkward. When they reached the corner, she turned to him. Thank you for walking me. You shouldn't thank me, he replied. You should tell me your schedule. Her brow furrowed. My schedule? So I know when to see you again. Her lips parted in surprise. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. Then she laughed, a sound that felt like sunlight in the cold. You're impossible, Mr. Lee. I've been called worse. She shook her head, still smiling. Fine. I work tomorrow night. Then I'll be here tomorrow night. He turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. You don't even know me. He looked back, eyes dark but gentle. I know that you make the noise in my head go quiet. That's enough for now. The words hung between them, heavy and electric. When he got into the car, Minute-suk was waiting with a file. Her name is Olivia Teo, he said. 24. Lives in Mapo. Works part-time here. Clean record. Young-jun took the file but didn't open it. I don't need paper to know who she is. Boss, Minute-suk said carefully, you're walking into danger. You know what happens when someone from your world cares about someone from theirs. Young-jun's gaze stayed on the city lights. Then maybe it's time my world changed. Far above the streets, the lights of Seoul flickered, some bright, some fading. But inside one man's chest, something dangerous and new began to burn. He didn't know it yet, but that fire would consume everything. They say love makes you brave. But sometimes, it also makes you reckless. For the next few weeks, Lee Young-jun kept returning to that rooftop bar. Every night at 8, he sat in the same corner, ordered the same drink, and waited for the same girl. At first, Olivia thought he was joking when he said he'd come back. But he did, again and again, until his presence became a rhythm her heart learned to expect. He wasn't like anyone she had met. He listened when she talked. He asked about her home, her culture, the music she liked. When she laughed, his expression softened in ways that surprised even him. In her presence, he wasn't Boss Lee, the name that made grown men tremble. He was just Young-jun, the man learning what peace felt like. One quiet night, after the last customers had left, Olivia wiped down the counter and caught him watching her again. You really don't get tired of this place, do you? She teased. He leaned forward. You make it hard to leave. Her cheeks warmed, but she looked away quickly. You say that like you've never had someone to talk to before. Maybe I haven't, he admitted. She turned, meeting his eyes. You're serious? Yes, he said simply. Too many people talk to me because of my name. You don't even know what I do. Should I? She asked curiously. He hesitated. For once, he didn't want to lie. No, he said finally. Not yet. Olivia smiled faintly. Then I won't ask. For a moment, their eyes held, silent understanding passing between them. But outside the bar, danger already waited in the shadows. The next day, whispers began to spread through Seoul's high society. Lena Park, CEO of Lee Group and Youngjoon's mother, had heard rumors. Her son, her polished, well-groomed heir, was seen with a foreign woman. A Nigerian waitress, she repeated, her voice cold as ice. Unbelievable. She summoned her driver. Find her. Bring her to me. Olivia didn't understand the invitation at first. The message came through a polite man in a suit, claiming to represent a family friend. She agreed, thinking it might be a job opportunity. But when she stepped into the marble lobby of the Lee mansion, her heart began to race. Lena Park waited for her in the glass-walled sitting room, every inch of her posture controlled and powerful. You must be Olivia, she said with a cold smile. Sit down. Olivia obeyed quietly. I'll be direct, Lena began. My son is impressionable. But he's destined for more than this. She paused, letting her eyes sweep over Olivia's simple clothes, temporary distraction. I don't understand, Olivia said softly. Oh, I think you do, Lena replied. You've enjoyed his attention, haven't you? The dinners. The gifts. The idea that you could be someone special. I never asked for any of that, Olivia said, her voice trembling but steady. Lena leaned forward, her tone sharp. Then I'll ask you for something. Stay away from my son. Olivia's heart pounded. You can't decide who he talks to. You're wrong, Lena said coldly. I can decide everything. Silence filled the room. The tension was suffocating. Finally, Olivia stood. I may not be from your world, she said quietly, but I'm not for sale. I don't want his money. I just care about him. Lena's eyes flashed with anger. Care won't protect you when the world turns on you. Remember that. That night, Youngjoon found Olivia sitting by the Han River, her eyes red from tears. What happened? He asked, kneeling beside her. Your mother, she whispered. She told me to leave you. His entire body went still. She what? She said I don't belong in your world. He looked away, his jaw tight. She's right about one thing, he said finally. Olivia's eyes filled with hurt. Which is? He turned back to her, voice low and fierce. You don't belong in my world, because you are my world now. The night wind caught her hair as their eyes met, and for the first time, Olivia realized just how dangerous love could be. Because when a mafia boss loves you, he doesn't let go, not even when the whole city tells him to. The next morning, Seoul woke to news that spread faster than smoke. Lee Youngjoon, the only heir to Lee Group, had been seen with a foreign woman at a rooftop bar. Reporters called it a scandal. Business partners whispered about distractions. And Lena Park, sitting in her glass-walled office high above the city, felt her control slipping through her manicured fingers. Her secretary entered timidly. Madam, your son is here. Lena's gaze hardened. Send him in. The moment Youngjoon stepped through the door, the air thickened. He looked calm, but his eyes burned with anger barely contained. You told her to leave me, he said quietly. Lena didn't deny it. I did. And I'd do it again. Why? His voice was tight, trembling with restrained fury. Because I won't watch you destroy yourself over someone who doesn't belong in our world, she said sharply. You think love changes who you are. You think she understands what you've done, the blood you've spilled. He froze. You don't even know who I am, mother. Then tell me. Lena shouted. What do you do when you disappear for nights? Where does all that money come from? The silence that followed was deafening. Youngjoon met her gaze, his voice a whisper of truth and regret. You don't want to know, mother. Lena's breath caught. For the first time, she saw something in his eyes that frightened her, not rebellion, but the shadow of something darker. Youngjoon, she whispered, stepping back. What are you saying? He turned away. I'm saying I'm done letting you control me. I love her. And I'm not walking away from that. Lena's voice rose in panic. You'll regret this. That girl will ruin you. She'll destroy everything you've built. He spun around, his voice calm but sharp as steel. Mother, you built this world. The lies, the expectations, the cages. I'm choosing something different. Different, she sneered. Running away for love. That's not different, that's weak. Young June took a step closer, his eyes glinting under the chandelier. Then I'd rather be weak with her than strong without her. He walked out, leaving his mother frozen, the echo of his words slicing through the silence. That evening, Olivia packed her small suitcase. Are you sure about this? She asked quietly. Young June nodded. We're leaving Seoul tonight. She looked up at him, eyes full of worry. Leaving everything behind? I left everything behind the day I met you, he said simply. They drove in silence under the Seoul night, the city lights fading behind them like dying stars. When they reached Incheon, the sea breeze replaced the choking air of the capital. They found a small apartment overlooking the water, simple, peaceful, theirs. Olivia worked beside him, learning how to handle his endless calls, his paperwork, his guarded temper. Slowly, she became more than an assistant. She became his calm, his balance, the voice that kept him human. But even in quiet moments, danger followed him like a shadow. One night, as they sat on the balcony, watching ships drift in the distance, Olivia asked softly, Young June, what are you running from? He looked out over the dark sea. Myself. She touched his hand gently. Then maybe it's time you stop running. He turned to her, eyes softening. Not until I'm sure you're safe. Safe from what? From me. Her fingers tightened around his. Then I'll stay close, so I can remind you that you're not as dark as you think. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The waves crashed below. The city lights shimmered far away. And in that fragile space between danger and peace, a love both forbidden and unstoppable began to bloom. But deep inside Seoul, Lena Park wasn't finished. She had lost her son once, and she would do anything, even destroy the girl he loved, to bring him back. They say running away doesn't solve anything, but sometimes it gives love the space to breathe. The sea wind of Incheon carried the scent of salt and freedom. Far from Seoul's cold towers and gossiping boardrooms, Lee Young-jun and Olivia built a quiet life that felt almost unreal. They rented a small apartment near the harbor, a place with cracked walls and sunlight that spilled through thin curtains every morning. To her, it was peace. To him, it was escape. Olivia had started working as Young-jun's assistant, managing calls, schedules, and the quiet chaos that followed him. She didn't know everything about his business, but she knew enough to sense the danger wrapped around his name. Sometimes, she caught him staring out the window long after midnight, eyes lost in thought. Do you miss Seoul? She asked one night. He didn't answer immediately. Then, softly, I miss what I could have been there. She studied him quietly. And what's that? He smiled faintly. A son my mother could be proud of. Olivia reached out, brushing her fingers against his hand. Maybe pride isn't what you need. Maybe peace is. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Gratitude, maybe hope. Then the phone buzzed, dragging him back to the world he couldn't escape. Days passed. Their lives began to intertwine in quiet, ordinary ways. She brewed his coffee. He made sure she never walked home alone. She teased him about his terrible sense of humor. He teased her about her soft heart. But beneath the calm, emotion built like an unspoken storm. One Friday night, after a meeting with his men at a club near the harbor, Olivia joined them for the first time. The music was loud, the lights dizzying, and laughter came easy. She rarely drank, but that night she let herself go, a few glasses too many, laughter spilling into tears and back again. When the night ended, Young June helped her to his car. Easy, he murmured, catching her as she stumbled. I'm fine, she slurred, though her cheeks were flushed. Just dizzy. He carried her into the apartment, gently laying her on the bed. She looked up at him, eyes heavy but clear. Don't go, she whispered, grabbing his hand. Olivia, he started, but her grip tightened. I need to say this, she breathed, voice trembling. You think I don't know who you are? I know you're not just some businessman. I see the way people look at you. But I don't care. I don't care what you've done, or where you come from. Her voice cracked, I just care about you. Young June froze. She had never said the words before. Her next sentence broke the silence like a gunshot. I love you. The words were soft, but they hit him harder than any bullet ever could. Then she whispered, kiss me, just once. He hesitated. The air between them was fragile, trembling. But when she reached for him, something inside him shattered. He leaned down, pressing his lips to hers, slow, deep, aching with all the things he'd never said aloud. She fell asleep moments later, still clutching his hand. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains. Olivia stirred, head throbbing. What happened? She murmured. Young June, already dressed, looked up from the table. You were drunk, he said gently. Her eyes widened. Did I say anything stupid? He smiled faintly, masking the storm inside him. Nothing I didn't want to hear. She frowned, confused, but let it go. He turned away before she could see the look in his eyes, the mix of fear, longing, and something he hadn't felt in years. Love. Outside, the waves crashed softly against the shore, whispering secrets only the sea could keep. But deep down, young June knew peace never lasted long in his world. And soon, the past he'd run from would find them both. Love can heal the heart, but it can also put a target on your back. For weeks, Incheon felt like a dream that refused to end. The mornings were gentle, the nights quiet, and the sound of the sea lulled them into believing that maybe, just maybe, their love had rewritten destiny. Olivia had grown comfortable beside Lee Young-jun, no longer just his assistant but the woman who made him laugh, who softened his hard edges, who turned silence into peace. But peace, in Young-jun's world, was always temporary. It began one cold evening. The apartment lights flickered. A shadow moved outside the window, quick, deliberate. Then came the sound of tires screeching. Kang Minitsuk burst through the door, his face pale. Boss, he said, breathless, we found them. They know where you are. Young Jun's blood ran cold. Who? The Han Syndicate. They've been tracking your movements. They're here. For a split second, time froze. Olivia stood near the kitchen, confusion clouding her eyes. What's going on? Young Jun turned to her, his voice calm but urgent. You need to hide. Why? What's happening? Please, Olivia. His tone left no room for argument. He opened a drawer, revealing a gun. Her breath caught. You really are. Yes, he said quietly. I'm the man your mother warned you not to love. Before she could respond, gunshots cracked outside. Glass shattered. Minitsuk ducked, shouting, get down. Young Jun pulled Olivia to the floor, shielding her with his body. The door burst open as masked men flooded in. The air filled with smoke and screams. He fired back, swift and precise, his movements cold and mechanical, like a man born for violence. When the last man fell, silence returned. Olivia trembled, clutching his arm. Her hands were shaking, her face was streaked with tears. He turned to her, his voice breaking for the first time. Are you hurt? She shook her head, but her voice was small. You killed them. They would have killed us, he said simply. She stared at him, really seeing him for the first time, not as the calm, charming man who brought her coffee and smiled at her jokes, but as a weapon. A leader. A man forged by danger. Is this who you are? She whispered. He looked away. This is who I was before you. The room smelled of smoke and fear. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Olivia rose shakily, walking toward the balcony. The sea was dark, waves crashing violently against the shore, as if mirroring her heart. You've been living in this world all along, she said, tears falling freely now. And I didn't even know. Young Jun followed her, his voice rough. I wanted to protect you from it. I wanted to give you something real. She turned, meeting his eyes. And now? He stepped closer, his voice soft but fierce. Now I need you more than ever. She took a deep breath, then reached up and touched his cheek. Then stop fighting alone. Her words hit him like a bullet, gentle, but deadly true. He caught her hand, pressing it against his heart. If you stay, this world will try to break you. She smiled faintly through tears. Then we'll break together. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead, his heart pounding like thunder. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to tremble, not from fear, but from love. Outside, the police sirens faded. Inside, they stood in each other's arms, surrounded by the ruins of his hidden world. And though neither spoke it aloud, both knew one truth. This was no longer just love. It was war. Love had made him human, but truth would make him bleed. News of the Incheon gunfight spread across Seoul like wildfire. Though most of the details were buried under silence and bribes, one name still reached the city's upper circles: Lee Young-jun. The man Lena Park thought was quietly rebuilding himself had become the whisper on every politician's tongue. Lena sat in her penthouse office, hands trembling as she read the anonymous report that confirmed her greatest fear. Her son wasn't just hiding from her, he was leading a criminal empire. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "My son, what have you become?" For the first time in her life, Lena Park cried, not the tears of a proud CEO, but the tears of a mother who realized that all her power, money, and control couldn't save the boy she once held in her arms. She rose from her chair, wiping her tears, and made a decision that shocked even her most trusted aide. "Prepare the car," she ordered. "I'm going to Incheon." That evening, the sound of gentle rain brushed against the apartment windows. Olivia sat at the dining table, stitching a small tear in Young-jun's sleeve, one he had gotten during the shootout days before. He watched her quietly from the sofa, exhaustion shadowing his eyes. "You shouldn't be fixing my clothes," he said softly. "And you shouldn't be getting shot at," she replied without looking up. He almost smiled, but his chest ached instead. She had seen too much, his darkness, his violence, his ghosts, and yet, she stayed. "Why didn't you leave when you had the chance?" he asked. Olivia tied the final knot and looked at him. Because leaving would hurt more than staying. The knock on the door came just then. 3 sharp taps. Young-jun reached for his gun instantly, signaling Olivia to stay back. But when the door opened, it wasn't an enemy. It was Lena Park. Her once perfect hair was damp from the rain, her eyes red from crying. For the first time, she looked less like a queen, and more like a broken mother. "Mother," Young-jun said in disbelief, lowering his gun. She stepped inside without a word, her gaze shifting between her son and Olivia. "So it's true," she murmured. "You really live like this." Young-jun's jaw tightened. "Why are you here?" "To see what's left of my son," she said quietly. "To see the man I raised, now surrounded by blood." "I didn't ask for your approval," he replied coldly. "I didn't come for approval." Her voice trembled. "I came to beg." That word silenced the room. Beg, a word no one had ever imagined Lena Park would speak. "Beg for what?" he asked carefully. "For you to come back," she said, stepping closer. "Take over Lee Group. Leave this world behind before it swallows you whole. You don't belong in the shadows, Young-jun. You belong where your father wanted you, in the light." He looked away, his voice quiet but steady. "That light doesn't exist for men like me." Lena turned to Olivia, desperation flickering in her eyes. "You're the only one who can change him. You made him feel again. Don't let him die in this darkness." Olivia's heart clenched. She had always thought Lena hated her, but what she saw now wasn't hate, it was fear. A mother's fear of losing her son forever. "Please," Lena whispered, voice breaking. "Bring him back to me." Olivia reached for Young-jun's hand. "Maybe she's right," she said softly. "You can't keep running forever." He looked at her, pain flashing across his eyes. "You think I can just walk back into that world? After everything I've done?" "Yes," she said. "Because you're not the same man anymore." Lena wiped her tears, whispering, "Let this girl save you, my son." For a long time, Young-jun said nothing. Then, slowly, he nodded. "If I return," he said finally, "I won't go back as the man you remember. I'll go back as the man she made me." Lena nodded, relief softening her expression for the first time in years. Olivia smiled faintly, squeezing his hand. Outside, the rain eased, and the city lights glimmered through the mist. For the first time, mother and son stood in the same room, not as enemies, but as broken hearts finding a way back to each other. But neither of them knew, in Seoul, redemption always came at a price. And the shadows Young-jun had escaped were already waiting to drag him home. Some endings don't come with peace, they come with choices that change everything. Weeks after that night in Incheon, Lee Young-jun returned to Seoul. The city felt colder, sharper, as if it had been waiting for his return. But he was different now, quieter, steadier, stripped of the arrogance that once defined him. At his side was Olivia, the woman who had walked through fire just to stand beside him. The world that had once rejected her now whispered her name in curiosity. The foreign girl who tamed the Lee heir. The woman who made the Mafia boss change. Gossip never slept in Seoul, but Young-jun no longer cared. He stood at the towering glass entrance of Lee Group, wearing a suit that reflected both his worlds, black as night, sharp as power. Lena Park waited in the lobby, watching her son walk toward her with Olivia beside him. For a moment, she almost didn't breathe. "You came back," she said softly. "I said I would," Young-jun replied. "But not as your puppet." Lena smiled faintly, tears glimmering in her eyes. "No. This time, as my equal." The press conference that day became the talk of Korea. Cameras flashed. Microphones pointed. The son who vanished had returned to claim his throne. "Mr. Lee Young-jun," a reporter called out, "you were gone for almost a year. People say you disappeared after criminal rumors. How do you respond?" Young-jun met their eyes without flinching. "The rumors are not all false," he said, his voice deep and steady. "I've done things I'm not proud of. But life isn't about where you've been, it's about who you choose to become. From today, I'll dedicate myself to rebuilding Lee Group, not with fear, but with integrity." The room fell silent. Even the cameras paused for a breath. Then, another reporter asked, "And the woman beside you, who is she?" He turned to Olivia, his expression softening. "She's the reason I'm still standing." He reached for her hand. "Her name is Olivia Aditeo. She's my partner, in life and in this company." The room erupted in gasps. Lena smiled faintly from her seat, proud but trying not to show it. After the conference, as they walked through the glass corridor overlooking Seoul's skyline, Olivia squeezed his hand. "You didn't have to say all that," she whispered. "Yes, I did," he replied. "I hid you for too long. You deserve to be seen." The elevator doors closed, wrapping them in silence. The lights above flickered gently as the city stretched endlessly below. "Young-jun," she said softly, "do you ever think about the past? The blood, the fear?" He looked down at her, his thumb brushing her cheek. "Every night. But then I look at you, and I remember what I was fighting for." Her eyes glistened. "You think we'll be okay?" He smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. "We already are." They reached the top floor, where Lena waited with champagne. She lifted her glass. "To new beginnings," she said. Olivia smiled, her voice warm. "And to forgiveness." Young-jun raised his glass. "To love that survived everything." The three clinked their glasses. For the first time in years, Lena laughed, a sound light enough to heal something old inside her. That night, under the Seoul skyline, Olivia stood on the rooftop terrace beside Young-jun. The wind carried the scent of rain, and the city lights painted their faces gold. "You built an empire," she said softly. "But you still look at me like I'm your whole world." He smiled, leaning closer. "Because you are." She laughed quietly. "What happens now?" He looked at her with a gaze full of promise and danger. "Now, we write a new story. One without blood, but with the same fire." He cupped her face gently, his voice barely a whisper. "No more hiding. No more running.